Yeah.
One of the things you and I were talking about, Damon, is outreach to family members through other family members.
Yeah.
We know there are family members out there who think as we do. At the very least, want a new investigation. And, thank God Bob McIlvain is here, Michelle Little is here, so we can talk to them about doing this outreach. Because the family members aren't going to listen to us. Well, they might, but there are people like Bill Doyle who represent thousands of family members, and he said that half of them think as we do. We want to start reaching out to those people to come forward, at the very least, to call for a new investigation. And I think that's an important element because the family members they can be a powerful organization. They can have a bigger voice than we can. They have a better chance of making the television talk, whereas we don't have a chance in hell of making that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
that's a big thing. And for the people who say that, we're going to use the family members to do this, to get our way, that's not the case. I've been doing this for 4 years, partly because of the family members, to give them the closure. And we were just talking to Bob, and he says it's not about closure, it's about justice. But whatever the reason is, I want them to have the best possible futures for the losses that they had.
Yeah. And the question is, we were having talk earlier, how do we bring them in? How do we create an environment in which they can be themselves and express themselves in their own...
I would hope that if we were to have some kind of event that had family members that were going to speak, people would be respectful enough to just let them speak.
Yes.
And not listen inside job.
Right.
I don't know how do we do that, because there's going to be people there who are going to do that.
Right.
And so
there's a lot of power there. And as I was saying to Bob earlier, when we were talking about the question of being used and doing that, I said, in a court case, if you take the abused child and you bring them in front of the jury, say this is the abused child, is that manipulation, or is that just showing the results of the crime? Is that
right?
And isn't that a legitimate?
Well, again, like Bill Doyle said, 50% of the family members he represented think as we do. So it's not like we're on a separate page. I just think that all of the conferences that we've had, hardly any of them have had family members.
Right.
Except this is the first one I know of.
And it was incredible. And they opened it.
Yeah,
which set the tone.
Exactly. And I cried during that whole hour and a half. But why haven't we been reaching out to them? And that's something I want people to start doing.
And a lot of it's been out of respect. I think we've reached out, but I don't think we're afraid of offending in some ways.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I was talking this morning at the grassroots thing about credible talking points when talking to new people.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that after we...
Okay.
No, you can do it right now, but yeah, you gave a speech. What were the highlights? What were you...
Well, basically the 4 points I've been talking about for the last couple of months. The family members questioned the entire veracity of the report. They said the commission was derelict in their duties. They came out with a documentary that questions the omissions, the distortions, the conflicts of interest. They called for a new investigation. There's a petition out there calling for the declassification of 3 separate things. So these are credible talking points. It's not something that you can refute. You can't say family members are calling for a new investigation. That's bullshit. I'm going to debunk that. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So, and there are very powerful statements, and I hope that more people start picking up.
They can ignore it. That's the.
They can ignore it, but the people won't. The media, the bastards in the media can ignore it, but you talk to a person. And I said earlier today, when I was in Philadelphia doing some outreach, I was in front of a little subway entrance which goes down into the sidewalk. And I was talking to other people, and I said, on this past anniversary, the family members called for a new investigation. And somebody who was almost all the way down the stairs heard what I said, came all the way back up the stairs and said, "What did you say?" Because they had no idea. But once they heard it, they were like, "Oh my God, this is big." Because obviously that's a newsworthy event, regardless of what our media think.
Yeah.
It would have been great to have her. But again, we were just talking to Bob. Hopefully Bob and Michelle, I'll talk to tomorrow, will start to doing the outreach to the family members that Bill Doyle talked about. And again, the petition, the family members petition has a lot of family members on that petition. So, we can almost use that as a list to start to outreach to family members. I mean, if we got a collection of all the family members who sign this list, give it to Bob or Michelle and say, what can you do with this? Can you start talking to them? We just want a new investigation, and the family members have more pull than we do, it seems. So.
And survivors.
And survivors.
Survivors
and first responders.
And firemen, first responders, survivors. This has affected all of them, and I think it's.
We have so much evidence. It's not about evidence anymore.
It isn't.
It really is not. It's about accountability, and that's what this conference is about.
How to bring it together.